Hey, everybody. Welcome to Leading Thriving Cities. My name is Chad Wright. I'm the founder of Forward Partners. This is our show where we shine a spotlight on leadership in public service, and we have deep conversations about sustainability and how we create a thriving future for our cities. Today's guest is Jack Thompson. He is the city manager of La Grange, Texas. He really dives deep into what it's like to lead in a small city. And we dive into the fact that when you come into a small city, often one of the biggest challenges is being able to raise that level of professionalism. What the public expects from us is growing. The bar is getting higher and higher. And if we keep doing things the way we've always done them, we're not going to be able to meet that. Jack has a ton of insight for how to meet that bar, how to raise that level of excellence. You're going to love this episode. Thank you for joining us on Leading Thriving Cities. Jack, thank you so much for coming out here and doing this. I'm excited. We joked at the beginning about you're not allowed to make dad jokes is what your staff said. Is that my understanding?
That is correct. That is correct.
We're going to break that rule. You know why? It's my show and we can do whatever we want.
I love it.
Let's do
Your
this.
listenership may go way down after this episode, but we'll give it a go.
I have a feeling it'll go up. I'm excited about this. So you have had a long career in public service. We were just talking about that, including some stints in consulting and doing the travel game and all that, the game I play every day. Yep. What's one thing you wish people understood about public service? I think it's a very misunderstood field. If you could bring clarity to them, what would it be about?
Wow. Well, it's a lot of moving parts, and it's a very difficult, challenging job because you're trying to keep so many people happy. Right?
Yeah.
And, well, maybe happy's not the best word.
At least not mad.
At least not, out with pitchforks and torches to kill you, So.
Where do they keep all those pitchforks, by the way? They store them somewhere. And then they bring them out at the worst time.
Yeah, who keeps them anyway? Really? Out of anything. But, there's because there's so many moving parts and there's so much that needs to be done in city government because you're covering all kinds of aspects of the industry, right? You're trying to keep the infrastructure up and going. So when people flush the toilet, it flushes. And when they turn on the water, it turns on. You want to expand your tax base so that all the residents don't feel the burden of paying for all your city services. And then you have your emergency management services. There's just a whole myriad of things that you're trying to keep going. Yeah. And so when people don't realize how difficult that can be. And that's not even including the political component to it. And though as city staff, we're not political, we're in a political environment.
Yes.
So
you very much feel the effects of the political world around you.
You really do. And so you have council members that are technically politicians, and so they feel a lot from their constituents, good or bad, and so you're having to help them manage that process. And then you have staff, and they need to understand what we're doing and why we're doing it and where we're going, and then they also have personal lives, and so what's happening in their personal lives that's impacting their performance and their job. And so you've got to really be empathetic, sympathetic, both to them and understand what's going on and create a clear picture for how you want to lead the organization and why you're going that direction, and also help your council so they can explain to their constituents, why are we doing what we're doing? Yeah. And so there's so many moving parts to what we do, and I don't think a lot of people understand that.
Well, it's when you think about a private business, they get to usually, unless they're a massive business, they focus in on one thing. This is what they do. What y'all do is so varied, and it doesn't matter how small the city is. It's got the same components, right?
Yeah.
You're a city of what, roughly 5,000 people?
Just shade over 5.
Yeah, just over 5,000 people. You have the same services and the same things that a town of millions of people is required to do. And that's crazy to think about, that you have to be an administrator who understands all these areas. You got to keep them all moving in the same direction. I don't think people can fully grasp the complexity of all that. I think you're right.
I don't. And even some of the staff, I don't think completely understands it all.
I think you're right about that. What's interesting is you see people, everybody always knows what everyone else should do until they go sit in their office for a few days and they're like, I had no idea what you deal with.
Yeah.
And I think there's something when we talk about public service and the sacred nature of it, It is so insanely complex, and that's part of what makes it exciting, I think, is you're doing something different all the time.
Yeah.
You're never doing the exact same thing every single day. But man, that's also got to get exhausting sometimes, doesn't it?
It is. It's a heavy weight, and I don't think a lot of times people understand that, but it's fun.
Yeah.
On the flip side,
yeah.
and I may be certifiably crazy. I'm not sure about that yet.
I think to own a business, you have to be a little crazy. To be a city manager, you also have to be a little crazy.
Yeah, there's moments. Just kidding. So yeah, but just trying to keep up with all the moving parts. But it is one thing we do not lack is boredom.
Yeah.
So
yeah, if you're bored as a city manager, you're disconnected. You're not paying
you're doing
attention.
something wrong.
Yeah,
or you might not be alive.
To be clear,
yeah,
you might want to check the old pulse.
Yeah, you may have somebody from fire come down and check on you just to see what's happening. Because wow, yeah,
that's funny.
So, it's good stuff.
When you first got into public service, was it kind of that complexity that attracted you to it? Was it a sense of service? What was it that initially called out to you and said, "This is what you need to spend your life doing"?
I think if I'd known that from the get-go, I might have run the other way. I think like several folks in our industry, I didn't really start off to do that, which is kind of an irony. My dad was assistant city manager in Fort Worth in the 1970s.
So you had already had an inside look at this service.
I had. Oh, yeah. I'd go to the office with him as a little kid. I remember doing that. My mom worked for the Parks and Rec Department for the city of Fort Worth, and then eventually she worked for Arlington County, Virginia. So, growing up, I had a lot of exposure to it.
Yeah.
But actually, my passion, I wanted to be a zoo director.
Okay. Talk to me about that.
So...
Because there's not a lot of those. That job's relatively rare in America.
It is.
Much less in Texas.
And who wants to grow up being a zoo director? This guy. So...
Which, city manager, I mean, you kind of landed
there. It's a different zoo, right?
Yes.
Different poo, different zoo, but you're still putting up with a lot. So
different poo. Can we please, Emily's, can y'all note that? That's the clip for this episode.
Yeah, different poo, different zoo. So yeah. So I'm kind of in the same vein. And but no, growing up, this was from when I was a little kid. So when I was 10, I wrote the zoo director at San Diego and Audubon in New Orleans. Mm-hmm. I said, "How do you become a zoo director?" And so they wrote back and said, "Look, kid, by the time you're able to be a zoo director, you're going to have to go the business route. It's not going to be animal people anymore. Yes. It's going to be business people."
Interesting. Which is probably true.
And it turned out right. And they said, if you can, get as much animal experience and zoo experience as you can. So when I turned 13, I could volunteer at the Fort Worth Zoo as an Explorer Scout. So at 13, I started volunteering. I was there every weekend.
Yeah.
I had to be a part of it. And then at 17, they hired me.
Okay.
So I got to be a keeper. So I'm checking the boxes.
So explain to me what a keeper is.
A zookeeper.
Zookeeper.
So I took care of big cats, large hoof stock, rhinos, giraffes, sometimes elephants.
I like the lingo, by the way, large hoof stock.
Oh yeah, large hoof stock. I know. Not going to take care of the small ones. Yeah, somebody else.
Somebody else. Yeah, I'm above.
I'm big cats and large hoof stock.
I'm a zookeeper with a capital K.
That's right. Give me the big animals. So. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And so I went to TCU to get my bachelor's degree in marketing. So I was going the business route like they suggested.
Yep.
And graduated, and then a recession hit. And so this was early 90s. Big recession hit. Nobody was hiring.
Yeah.
So I started looking for other jobs, and I landed a job with the city of North Richland Hills Parks Department in marketing. They're a brand new water park, NRH2O.
Yeah.
And a lot of their parks.
Interesting. That's a city-owned facility?
It's a city-owned facility.
Okay, I didn't know that.
And they were cutting edge on that deal because it was the first real water park. And up until then, all pools were pretty much squares in the ground.
Yep.
And
if you want anything else, you went to Wet and Wild
that's
right up the road. Yeah.
And so they broke the mold on that.
Interesting.
And it was a lot of fun. And I got to know their economic development director, Marty Weeder, real well, and I really got interested in what he was doing.
Yeah.
And so that really opened up my eyes to broader government opportunities. And then I applied for the economic development director's job in Burleson and got it. And after that was off to the races. So
interesting.
And then I just fell in love with it. And I had a really good city manager in Kay Godby at Burleson, who was very much a mentor and really gave me a lot of good advice, taught me a lot about city government. And I really enjoyed it. But then there was an opportunity to jump and do some consulting on the side, doing consulting on my own.
Yeah.
And it was I like the idea of that. I like the idea of going from city to city.
The idea sounds really sexy, right?
Oh, yeah. But the beating you take is, yeah.
I told somebody the other day, I now measure time based on how many nights in a row I get in my own bed. I'm like, if it's 3 or 4 nights in a row, man, I'm golden. That's amazing.
Oh, yeah. And there was some times where we were very blessed with a lot of clients, and there were some months where I would do 15 meetings in a month.
Yeah.
And
this was pre-Zoom days.
Yes.
So,
there was no Zoom, and you had to drive to that town and be there.
Yeah.
And so it was a grind for a long time, but I enjoyed it enough to keep doing it.
Yeah.
And then switched back into the city world.
Well, and through that time, you eventually land in the city manager's office.
I do.
And through that, obviously you grew a lot from too big for his britches, large hoof animals only zookeeper to city manager.
Yes.
What were some of the things you had to overcome in that journey internally? What were the things you had to learn the hard way, grow in, and to show up as the leader you are today?
So you can't expect to be liked by a lot of people. You don't want to be, I want to be liked first and foremost. No, if that's your case and you need a lot of likes on your social media and and in real life, this is going to be a hard gig.
Yes.
For you.
How long did it take you to learn that?
Fortunately, I was kind of a loner as a kid, so it didn't really matter.
Just never been the people pleaser.
I didn't have to.
It was just you and the rhinos out there.
It was. When you're an animal person, you're just kind of there in your animals, and as long as they're fed and happy, you're happy. So
yeah.
But nobody wants to be disliked.
Right.
Nobody wants to be on the outsides. And so, but you just can't have that as a main source to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you also have to have thick skin, and you have to realize you're not going to make everybody happy, that you're going to be putting in long days, long hours. There's sacrifices that come with that. And that you're going to also have to be a really good communicator. And you're going to have to be able to formulate your vision and your ideas of where you want to take the organization and how you want to grow that company or city, and then be able to convey that vision and tell people, here's what we're going and here's why we're doing this. And it may seem different, or it may not be something you've ever done before, but it's something that we need to do, and here's why.
Yeah.
And you have to have that buy-in, at least from the council, of course, and then it's nice to have the staff buying in, because they're all pulling in the same direction, and it's really a team sport.
Have you over time developed your communication ability? Have you always been a pretty natural communicator? Or have you had to learn that as you've increased in your levels of leadership?
Verbally, I've always been all right. Writing, now that took some time.
And there's a lot of writing involved in being in city management.
There is. And I've really had to work on that aspect of it, being a better writer and being able to communicate, on paper. So
I'm curious, were there specific things you did? Did you recognize, hey, I'm not good with the written word, maybe I need to get better? Are there specific things you did for that?
Yes. So I've had friends that are really good writers.
Yeah.
So I'd write stuff and then I'd give it to them.
I like that.
Yeah, my ego didn't.
Listen, I just sent the first draft of a book off to the editor, and I'm just cringing, waiting for the feedback to come in.
Yes, but you got to get good at things, and you got to be willing to take a hit, and you have to be willing to learn. That's the other thing. You have to be willing to listen, and really keep your mouth shut. Sometimes I'd get ahead of myself. I've been very blessed with being able to see things pretty clearly as far as where we need to go as an organization, where our weak spots are, where our strengths are. Strategy is a very, it comes to me very easily.
Yes.
And that's kind of my blessing. And so sometimes I could have the habit of getting out in front of myself a little quickly without making sure everybody understood where we were going in the buy-in process.
Yeah.
And so
that's a hard thing to slow down, because ultimately, because I'm the same way, my skills are almost all strategic. I see the future real easily, and I want to run to that, and everybody else is going, where is he running? What an idiot. He's just running through the parking lot right now.
Why is he doing that? Shouldn't he put some clothes on? I mean, I don't know.
Thankfully, that's one of the few problems we haven't had, but we've had all the other ones. Trust me.
That's good. I can say that too. So
there's no way this podcast gets either one of us in trouble.
No, not at all.
I think that when we think about those spotting those blind spots, I guess they're not really blind spots, but those gaps, those things that we're not quite as gifted at. It's one of the things I'm trying to get one of my sons to realize is, hey, if you'll go get a public speaking class, it'll change your entire life.
Yes.
Because you will learn, if you can hold a room of 50 people not captive, that sounded worse. If you can hold their attention,
sure,
you can then hold one person's attention. You can have a better conversation. And I never really understood that until I took public speaking in college. And that was the first time I was like, oh, I might be good at this. And it changed then how I communicate with everybody. And so I love the idea of spotting those gaps and then intentionally developing that.
And you really do. And I constantly evaluate myself, and I have my staff evaluate me. Particularly at my last job, I was friends with several of the staff there. One of the benefits of having consulted for a lot of cities is you see a lot of good people.
Yes.
And if I ever get a full-time job, there's some people I'm going to go get on my team.
Do you know how many people I've met that I'm like, I would love to hire them someday?
Yeah.
Emily Crawford, I don't know if you know her, city manager of Abilene.
Yeah.
I don't know her, but she's current president of TCMA. She's the top of the list. I need a third Emily, apparently. And so when she retires, that's the plan, is I'm going to hire her.
Well, that's good.
She doesn't know this yet, by the way. I guess she'll find out when she listens to this.
Well, and it makes it easy because everybody's Emily. So
exactly. That doesn't create any confusion at all.
Not at all.
One of the things, you're in a smaller city now, even you've been in some larger cities before. In a smaller city, part of the work is, in order to meet the public's ever increasing bar for success, you're raising the level of excellence, and you're trying to get people out of I've just always done it that way. This is how we do things. How has that gone? Like, how have you navigated that? Because I know that is a challenge you can run into very commonly in small cities.
Well, it is. And, I started my career with hair. So
like 3 years ago, man. It's been a rough 3 years.
Right? 3 years, 3 weeks. I mean, just the other day I had it past my shoulders, and now look. And so, no, that is one of the bigger struggles is everybody, well, we've always done it this way, or we don't really like change. That's the other one I don't really care much for is, well, we don't want to change.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? You are changing. Everybody's changing. You're either growing or you're dying. There is no such thing as no change. It doesn't happen.
Yeah.
It just doesn't show up on big scales every day, but if you go back and look at a picture of yourself from 2 years ago, you look different.
How have you been able to overcome some of that resistance?
Generally stories like that. So one of the things that I got when I got to La Grange is it's a great town. I love La Grange. It is, it has a wonderful town square. It has a wonderful river. The Colorado runs through it. It is just teeming with opportunity, and which really makes me happy and just kind of gives me the energy and the boost to go do the job.
Yeah,
because you realize there's so much you potentially can do.
Well, as the person that sees the future, you see all of that laid out, right?
Yeah, and this could be such an awesome community. Not that it's not awesome, but
there's more potential there.
Yeah, there's a lot on the table that we can take advantage of.
Yeah.
And so, but you get these kind of, the square was really nice and I don't want it to change. But in the same sentence, they're saying they don't like the way it is now. They like the way it was, but they don't want it to change. Yet what has happened?
Yeah.
It's changed. It's just changed worse.
Yeah.
And they're going back to days of yesteryear, nostalgia, where it was different in their mind, but it really hasn't caught up to them, and the realization hasn't been there. Well, it's not what it was.
Yeah.
And to get it to what it was, we're going to have to change it and move forward. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's part of life. And so we try to use examples like that. Communication is becoming a more intentional thing with me. one of those city managers that abhors social media. And, for a while, and particularly in my previous spot, there was other staff that loved social media. And I felt very blessed by that.
You just let them run with it.
I let them run with it. I ran the other way. I hated it. I don't want to get involved. But in my new job, I have to be. And I have to be more intentional in communicating and more direct and make myself available more to the public as to why we're doing things and explain ourselves better. And so we're really starting to ramp that aspect up. And how do we get out there and get ahead of things and explain our positioning? But it just takes a lot of time to do that. So
yeah, it does. Well, and I think when you talk about raising that bar for excellence for both the citizens and the staff, it's a process of getting them on board for the idea that excellence is possible, that we can, even though we're small, we can still do things with excellence.
You can, and you really try to pour into your staff. At least I do. I really try to spend time with them and talk to them, get to know them, and then explain why I do what I do. Some buy in easier than others. Particularly the younger staff seems to buy into it a little bit more because they don't have all those years of we've done it a certain way.
And there's a little bit of truth to the saying, you can't teach an old dog new tricks.
And there is, especially when they've been doing it the same way every day for 20 years. And then you're asking to change. So you just have to be a little bit more patient and guiding and just working with them.
Well, and I'm almost realizing too, most of these folks that got into public service did it because they wanted to serve. They wanted to do good. And often that kind of gets, over time, it fades a little bit and they get a little crustier and here's how we've always done it. And 20 years of the same thing over and over again, like that passion, it's just been buried or crusted over in a way that it no longer shows. And you're kind of like an archaeologist. You're just like, no, we're going to dig through these layers. We're going to get back to that because I know it's there. I know you're capable of this.
And that's a great analogy. I kind of get back to my zoo days where you just got to keep scooping.
I think I know what you're scooping.
Yeah.
There's only so many things you scoop in a zoo.
And you just get rid of it. Yeah.
I love that. So La Grange, I assume in all the potential that's out there, I'm assuming zoo is on the list somewhere.
Oh, yeah. That would be high on the list.
Come to La Grange,
Texas, come to La Grange and see our zoo. Yeah. That might really, get me out of La Grange. If I were to do something like that. But no, La Grange it's got a lot of opportunities, and we've really been busy with what we're trying to accomplish right now. We're in the planning process on a lot of fronts. We've got a Parks and Trails master plan we're doing, a land comp plan we're doing, stormwater master plan. We're doing a KERS for some development that we're starting to get. We're getting ready to do a whole unified development code update. That's coming after the land comp plan. And then we have water and wastewater that we're trying to get some funding to replace. We've got like 70% cast iron and clay pipe in the ground. So I've got to get that taken care of. We're doing a facilities assessment study. I have some facilities that have some issues.
Well, the beauty of all this is you're going to very holistically, you're going to know here's what we got to do.
Well,
here's
the
work.
And that helps with the council too. So when we start having to spend some money to rectify these situations, we can easily walk people through why are we doing this? And here's why, and here's what they're.
And that'll be a multi-year process because you just half that list you couldn't afford in 1 year.
Right.
And so is it sometimes with a city of that size, budget of that size, staff of that size, does it sometimes feel like the needs are far greater than what the resources are?
Yeah. It's a big pile.
Yeah. And y'all get very good at doing a lot with the resources you have.
We do, and I've been blessed with a really good staff. I will say they've done a great job buying into where we're going. And they've really done a good job moving forward. I think a lot of them enjoy the challenge of what we're trying to do and what we want to accomplish. The EDCs bought some buildings on the square, so we've had some fun with that. We've got a new brew pub moving in on the square. We bought another building, and La Grange has had a community theater for 9 years. and it's done really well, but they've been nomadic in the sense that they haven't ever had a permanent home.
Okay.
So now we're going to do a permanent home on the square, but the square kind of after 5, the sidewalks roll up and there ain't anybody there. So we're trying to unroll the sidewalks and get people to spend time and energy and money into the downtown. And so we're hopeful with these projects it gets that helps.
What were some things you've learned through some of your previous experiences that are helping you do that?
Really, well, that's a really good question. It's being able to evaluate each community as itself. Yeah. Because cities are like people. Yeah. We're influenced and we grow by the environment for which we grew up in. Yeah. And cities are a lot the same way. And so the big key is really understanding how that city got to the point it is, understanding its history, understanding the mindset, and then also seeing, well, where can we go with this, and recognizing what's on the ground that's a value. For La Grange, it was a good square. It's its location because they're an hour east of Austin. We're 45 minutes to Bergstrom Airport. Yeah. And we're an hour and 30 minutes to downtown Houston. We're an hour and 40 minutes to downtown San Antonio.
Which is an amazing place to be.
It is. The location is just awesome. And then we're surrounded by a lot of other really nice small towns that all have their own thing going. Yeah. And so as a collective, it comes together really well. So that's a strength. We have the Colorado River that runs through our city, and 4 of our 8 parks are on the river. And so how do we connect that, and how do we make that an asset? So it's really, getting back to your question, my history, having worked for so many cities across the state, when I'd have to go in, it was evaluating all those things. And so it just becomes kind of second nature to you after a bit. You do the gig long enough, you learn.
You start to see the strengths and weaknesses really quickly.
And you can, and you pick it up pretty quick. Yeah. And then you just start.
Was that, you may not know the answer to this question, but when the city council chose you as city manager, was that part of what informed their decision? I mean, other than the amazing sense of humor and your history as a zookeeper, was that part of what informed it, was that experience you have with economic development?
I think it was. Okay. And so, when I interviewed with him, I said, look, my career has always been about changing cities. I'm an instrument of change.
So if you want somebody just to keep this the same, I'm probably not your guy.
That's what I told him. I'm like, please do not offer me the job. If this isn't what you want, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Every city, has their own needs and whatnot. But just understand who I am. Yeah. And so that's what's going to happen is when I come in, I'm going to look to make improvements, and really I see a lot of opportunities and possibilities here, and I'm going to want to achieve those. Yeah. And so they hired me, and here we are, and I'd like to think we're all having fun. So
at least if they want their paychecks to keep coming, we're having fun, right?
I really wasn't supposed to tell the staff it's like that.
I know.
Just kidding. Yeah.
I'm curious that how do you run at the right pace when you see the future? Like, that's some of my strength. I'm going to see the future. I want it to be reality tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
But when you're talking about change, and especially a city, you can't just throw away everything that exists and start over and change everything all at once. How do you pace yourself in that to both not be too frustrated, but also bring people along and make sure everybody's on board for the vision?
Sure. And that's one thing I've really had to work on, because I'm let's do it. When I see it, I want to get there. And so, it's kind of one of those things when you take trips with the family. No, we're not stopping. I don't care if you got to go.
Get there.
We're going to get there, too bad. Should have gone before we left the house. So it's kind of the same thing. Hey, I see where we're going. Let's just go. Yeah. So I've really had to learn to slow down and just be more intentional. Fortunately, limited resources forces you to do that. Yeah. Because we all know we don't have enough resources to pull everything off that we want to do.
That's actually one positive to limited resources, right? It does force you to be more intentional and to really slow down.
It really does. It really makes you sit there and go, okay, we've only got so much money. So which is most important to us right now? Yeah. And the other thing that I appreciate about that too is it really forces us to engage the public. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, it's not about Jack Thompson. It's about the residents of La Grange. And what do we want to do? Where do we want to take things? What do you see as most important? Yeah. And so being able to slow down and be intentional on how we spend that money also puts us in the position of asking the residents, what do you want to do? Because we've done a lot of engagement since I've been there.
Yeah.
It started with a new branding campaign that we did. So we wanted to do a new logo, new brand. So we put together some focus groups to help us understand the history and richness of La Grange and how they view it, so we could come up with that right logo. And so it started there. And then the Parks and Trails Master Plan, of course, has had several public components, input components. So has the land comp plan will have that as we get further down the line. And so we continue to reach out to the public, and we're working on ways to better communicate with the public through our social media platforms and get some input there. And so we really do want to hear from everybody. The trick is hearing from everybody, because as we all know, we have our STPs, those same 10 people that always just want to gripe no matter what. And so you have to kind of push through that and get everybody's opinions. And so we do spend some time trying to go to folks.
That was going to be my question. How have y'all done that?
Yeah. So focus groups and intentionally inviting certain folks and put them in a safe environment where they can speak freely and not feel like there's any judgment or somebody's going to tell them they're stupid and throw rocks at them kind of thing. And so we try to create that. Anonymous surveys is another good one that we do. And so, and going just to people, we'll go to we've got as part of the Parks and Trails Master Plan, we're going to go to the high school and let the high school kids tell us what they think.
Yeah.
Then we're going to go to the senior center and have them tell us, and that way they're on their turf.
There's something to, I think, in local government, what I've noticed, and you can tell me if this is wrong or not, what I've noticed is a tendency for government to sit there and go, oh, people are not engaging.
Yeah.
They're not voting. They're not showing up. They're not coming to meetings. They're not. What if our job was to go to them? What if our job was to say, hey, this feedback matters, and if you're not going to give it to us, I'm going to come get it from you.
That's it.
And that kind of passion for that connection probably drives better results, because I'm going to guess that when y'all finally do roll some of these things out, you're getting more buy-in from the public because they were a part of the process.
And that's our hope is we get a lot more buy-in, because people don't want to go to a city council meeting at night. I've worked all day. I'm tired. I want to go home.
It's your job, and you don't even want to do that.
I don't even want to go to my city council. And I like my city council members, and I still, it's like...
Just so we're clear, city council members.
Yeah, I do like my city council. So, so they don't want to come in and on a night, their kids have homework that they got to help them with, or they're tired, whatever it may be. And so I get it. And so if we can go to them and get input, great. Yeah. And that's what we're going to do.
I love that.
So
that's good. Through a long career in public service, you learn a lot and you grow as a leader. And a lot of these lessons are learned through a lot of pain that we experience. If you could go back in time and sit down with Jack Thompson, who's about to start this career, who's looking for a job because the zoos aren't hiring right now.
Right.
What advice would you give him to maybe help him avoid some of that pain along the way?
Oh, wow. I think a lot of the best advice I would give myself is listen a whole lot more and speak a whole lot less, and just really watch your environment. It kind of like the zoo environment, when you
it all
work
comes
with me
back
here,
to the zoo.
It's all coming back to the zoo, folks. I'm sorry. I know none of your audience is zoo people, but hey, we're gonna go down this path for a moment. So, when you are a zookeeper, one of the things you do first thing in the morning is go check on all your animals and see what's going on. You're in tune with them. You create routines, have kind of a rhythm, if you will, on how you do things, but you're very in tune to their environment, because if you got to understand, if they're sick or something's changed, you got to be in tune with them.
Because they can't tell you, so you have to observe everything.
Right. And so, to me, the same kind of things can apply in our lives in city government. Yeah. Be in tune to your environment, be in tune to what's being said, have good discernment, learn to really be able to differentiate between the wheat and the chaff, and don't let the chaff bother you. Shed it away and focus on the wheat, and that and then really listen to what's happening around you and observe, and then act. And so I think that would have been the biggest thing, because there's times in my career, particularly when I'm young and you're full of vip and vinegar, you want to go conquer the world.
Hold on. I got in trouble an episode ago. You're full of vip and vinegar. I described it as being full of piss and vinegar, and no one in here had heard that before.
Really?
That's what I said.
I replaced piss with vip just for your audience sake.
Now I've said it 2 episodes in a row.
Yeah, but yeah, because
we're winning.
You are, yeah.
So anyway,
I don't know. Do you have any family from Kansas? Because that's kind of where I picked it up.
We're from West Texas rednecks,
so
that's all our stock.
Okay.
So one thing that I find interesting is all the stuff you're talking about in terms of really listening, really paying attention, really figuring out, do I take this on or not? Do I get offended by this thing or not? Every bit of it requires slowing down.
Yes.
And I get the feeling just from the time you and I have spent together, you don't slow down naturally. Your natural move is probably pretty fast.
It is. But it's like my old pastor used to tell me, Jack, you walk with God, but you run with the devil.
I love that.
And so, that always hit me. And I thought, okay, well, if I really want to do things the right way, you got to walk.
Yes.
Now, that doesn't mean you're not moving forward.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean things aren't happening.
But you're moving forward in a sustainable way.
Yes, with purpose and intentionality.
Yes. That's our entire company, and everything we do is just trying to get people to slow down, be intentional, because then you could do this for a really long time.
Oh, yeah.
If you don't, you're going to break at some point, and you're going to give up on this early.
Oh, yeah.
And the reality is y'all do sacred work, so we need you doing this work.
Yeah.
Can I encourage you? I think you need to write a book.
Oh, no.
And I think it needs to be called Lessons from the Zoo. Because as you're talking about observing and everything in the zoo, I'm like, that's a genius concept when it comes to being in city management and how we interact with people and how we're in tune with our staff and how they're doing. My guess is there's a lot of other lessons from the zoo.
Oh, there is. There is.
Well, you and I can work on that together. We'll co-author the book. You just tell me your zoo stories, and I'll relate that somehow to leadership.
Wow. Well, that'll
sell.
That'll sell. Oh, it will.
We're never getting any work after that, but it'll sell.
No, but people would buy it, I think, and then they would never listen to us again.
Well, so much of this project and these conversations, we want people to see that, A, they're not alone, that everybody's experiencing very similar things, but we really want to further that conversation about sustainability.
Yeah.
How do we help our teams thrive? Because there's so many reasons that they don't thrive and so many things fighting against that. What's something that cities need to rethink completely or do in a different way to allow their people to thrive, to make sure they're in the best position possible?
Now, when you're talking thrive, are you talking just within the city government or within the city as a whole?
I think the staff themselves. Okay. How do we help them thrive?
So a lot of it, I've always noticed in my career that we feed off our leader. So if our leader feels defeatist and is quiet, the staff gets kind of defeatist and quiet. If you bring a real high energy and you're very engaging, the staff gets more engaging. And so every day, I'm like, suck it up, Buttercup. Let's go. We got to be happy. We got to be positive. The staff cannot see you, in a Debbie Downer. You can't be Eeyore. You got to be more like Tigger, and you got to come in with synergy. And so, because if you start complaining and belly aching, then the staff's going to start feeding off that. And so it starts with attitude, particularly me. And it's hard. And I'm not saying I do it right every day. There's days the staff can look at me and go, he ain't right.
I get that most days.
Yeah, well, and, there's my hair's all disheveled. I just look bad. And so, they know. But for the most part, every day, before I open that door, I'm like, okay, it's on. We're on, and you've got to really be positive. Don't get mad in front of people. I try my best not to. Now, I've got a lot of Irish, so that's next to impossible for me. But I really try to work on my emotions, and so it starts with the attitude that you bring to the organization, and then it starts with the intentionality of how you train people, and you let them know that I want you to succeed.
Yeah.
I'm constantly telling my staff, I want you to be successful. I want you to be what you want to be. Not to sound like an Army ad, but but it is important to me that they know that we do care about who they are, and I want to know about your family. I want to know how your wife's doing, or how your kid's performance went last night, or whatever it is that's going on. I do want to know about you as a person, and then whatever your career goals are, I want you to succeed in your career goals.
Mm-hmm.
I have a staff person that is thinking about being a city manager. Bless his heart.
Does he have that special kind of crazy?
He's getting there. I'm like, you're not quite there yet, but you're getting there.
Go get him an internship at a zoo somewhere.
I will.
That'll
right?
help. That'll be a good
send
step.
him down to Houston for a few weeks. Go work for the Houston Zoo. But I want to help him with his career. But there's other people. You don't have to want to be city manager. You might want to move up the ranks to be assistant public works director.
Yeah.
So how can I help you get there?
Yeah.
And work with you. And if you create that environment of intentionality of spending time with your employees and wanting to see them move up, I think they really appreciate that. And then if they know you care and that you're really about them, then they'll respond accordingly.
Yeah.
And so, and the other thing we try to do is break down any types of silos. I'm not a big silo guy. I don't like I'm just public works, or I'm just PD, or no, we're all just in this together, and we're all pulling in the same direction. On social media, we get rocks thrown at all of us. So it's all of us. We're all in the same boat, Yeah.
They don't single out public works. They say the city.
The city.
Yeah.
Yes. It's always the city.
Yeah.
And we gotta watch out for each other. And we got to pull together, and we got to look out for one another. And so ways we try to do that is I did put together a social committee. I stay out of it because I don't want them feeling like, oh, well, he's just forcing us to do this stuff. I don't want it to be like a voluntold thing. And so I just gave them some guidelines. The beatings will continue
until morale improves.
Yeah, you better have good morale or else, buddy. Yeah, I don't want that.
Yeah.
The only thing I really subject my staff to is dad jokes, and they're really bad. And they seem to endure. It's making them strong, though.
Exactly. You're building up a thick skin.
I am. I'm building character, or characters. So we really spend some intentional time on having the social committee come up with ideas, and I pretty much let them, come up whatever you want to do, within reason. But for the most part, I'll okay it, and I'll try my best not to veto an idea, if at all possible. And so they really that's been something that's taken off, and it takes time though, because you'll hear, oh, well, we tried that and it didn't work. Well, how many times did you try it? Twice. Well, yeah, you got to try it more like 10 times. It's kind of like advertising.
Yeah.
You don't run one ad and then everybody shows up to your shop.
Mm-hmm.
You got to run, 10 ads before you make an impression?
I think they said an average of 7 times before people even notice.
Notice, right.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of the same thing with a lot of the social stuff. You just got to keep... sounds bad, but you got to keep pushing it on them until they accept it.
You just keep scooping until it's all working.
That's right. Keep that shovel going. And so, so that's kind of some of the stuff we do.
We talk a lot about burnout, and we talk about the things that Gen X brings to the table in terms of we're real bad about our only move is to run headfirst through the wall.
Mm-hmm.
But there are times that resilience is actually really helpful to say, yes, we're going to do this, and it's going to take a really long time, and it's going to suck all the way until it doesn't, and then it's going to be good. And that resilience is needed, I think. So that's some of the good things we actually bring to the table.
It is, and you just got to keep going. And that's kind of seeing where you want to end up. You really got to know where you want to end up.
Yeah.
And that's got to be time. And this is what I really encourage other city managers is really come up with where you want to be. Where do you really see yourself? And really stop and take time to think about that.
Yeah.
Not only externally, but internally. What do you want to be known as? It's almost kind of one of those deals where, I don't know if you ever had a class where they had you write your own obit.
No.
Yeah. So in college, I had a class where it was a writing class and you had to write your own obituary.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, that's kind of crazy. But it really makes you think of, what do you want to be known for? What do you want to be said? But you can translate that over into what we do, in the sense that, well, if we were to ask somebody, what kind of city government are we?
Yeah.
What does that look like to you? What does that mean right now? And so as a city manager, I want them to be able to say, well, it's this. We have a city governance that really cares for us professionally and personally, that wants to see us grow, that wants to see us succeed. They give us the tools and the education to get there and to achieve that. And in return, we'll run through a wall for the organization kind of thing.
I love that.
And
one of the things you said at the beginning of this question was about how everything starts with the leader. And I think you're 100% right about that. How you show up dictates everything else. There are days you don't have it.
Right.
And what I'll tell you is, maybe you're the outlier. We suck at hiding it. So when we show up and we fake it, it doesn't go particularly well.
No.
So how can you bring optimism, positivity, determination, resilience, and say, yeah, I don't have it right now. I'm having a tough time.
So I'm just honest about it, because I have no poker face. Like, I can't lie. If I lie, people are like, you're lying.
Yep.
Don't even try. And I can't hide how I feel.
Yeah.
It's on my sleeve. That's the way I've always been. And so, unfortunately, that just makes me own it. So when I am having a bad day, I just have to own it and say, look, this day has just not gone right. That bull got the better of me and threw me off, and then it stepped on me, and I'm feeling the pain today. But but I'll get through it, and we'll keep on moving. And I think they appreciate the honesty.
Yes, they do. And I appreciate the clarity there, because as you're describing it the first time, it sounded more like you just power through and you're positive no matter what.
Oh, no.
And I doubt that's the case.
No.
So
No, not in city government. No, lightning would strike me and burn your whole studio down if I said, oh, I'm great every day, and this is all work in progress. Everything I'm talking about is a lot of work.
Yeah.
And that gets back to people not really understanding, what all we do as city managers, because it's not just working on ordinances or city policies or working with the council. It's doing internal work on ourselves.
Yes.
Because if we don't do that, we don't continue to, it's like ongoing construction. It's like TxDOT. You don't recognize a road without it being under construction. That's the way I am internally. I'm always under construction and trying to get better. And I fail every day. And I suppose too, if I had to go back and tell my younger self something, is don't fear failure. It's not if you fail, it's when you fail.
And that's how you learn.
And that's exactly how you learn. And what you want to get good at is not making the same mistake twice, which I'm still learning how to get better at that as well. But it is, and it is having some humility too, and not letting our egos run away with us. And to me, you got to be really careful of the really good times when things start bouncing your way, and it's going well, and you're getting a lot of victories, and things are really happening in a positive direction for you. You got to really remember, okay, it can turn on a dime.
Well, and you can also start to think, I am done. I've got this figured out. I don't need to keep the internal construction going.
Right.
And I don't think it's unique to city managers, but when I think about city managers, the ones that I can point to and go, that's not a great leader, are the ones who kind of stopped the construction. They stopped and went, I got this figured out. I am good at this. I've got it all done. And because they're no longer growing, they're no longer going through the pain of that process. It shows in their leadership.
It does. And the day I ever say something like that, I know I'm done. I know that's it. I got to hang up the spurs and walk away, because it's never done. You're never complete. And you can't feel like, because I don't know something, I'm inferior or let that get to you. My first city manager in Burleson, Kay Godby, wonderful, wonderful lady. And she taught me that, you can't know everything, but you hire the best people that really know their area of expertise, and you surround yourself with the smartest people you can find. And I've always lived by that advice.
Yes.
And so, that always really resonated with me. So I really want, this is going to sound weird, but I really want to be the dumbest person in the room.
That doesn't sound weird at all. I love being the dumbest person in the room. I love raising my hand and go, hey, explain that to me real quick. Because that means that person is an expert and they can help me learn,
right?
Which is amazing.
And I have no problem with that, because I want people that really know what they want. I want people that are really passionate about their job, that really love what they do. And then it's a lot of fun, right? Because everybody's really passionate about what they do. They love what they do. And you can see that in sports. The teams that win, they're all pulling together. They're joking, but when they're on the field, they're all pulling it with each other. They're very serious. They're focused. And then off the field, though, they've got just a really good rapport with one another. And so, kind of the same thing for us. It's when it's 8 to 5, let's really pull hard. But after 5, let's, talk and have fun and,
Yeah, there's that relational piece that can be missing sometimes if you don't intentionally cultivate it.
Right.
And it sounds like you're doing a good job of that.
I'm trying to. Yeah, every day.
Well, and it's ongoing work. It's like everything else, developing as a leader, being a great city manager. It's a practice. It's not a thing you never check the box.
Yeah.
You're going to retire and go, if I'd kept going, I could have been an even better city manager.
Yes.
That's just how it is. That's a good sign.
I know, as I've gotten older, I'm like, I'm getting a little wiser at this stuff. But then you start looking at, well, how many more years do I have? And, hopefully a lot more. Because now I feel like I'm really getting into a stride.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, you hit that groove. I love that, man.
Yeah.
Man, this has been a great conversation. Thank you so much for being willing to do this.
Oh, I love it, Chad. Thanks for having me, and I hope I didn't scare off your audience.
Audience numbers are going up. I can feel it.
While
we're talking, I can feel the numbers going up.
Well, there's got to be a lot of city managers out there going, wow, thank goodness I'm not that
guy. Thank you, brother.
Hey, thanks. Appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us for Leading Thriving Cities. We are dedicated to giving away everything we teach, and importantly, everything we learn while we're on the ground partnering with cities to develop healthy leaders and thriving teams. You can find all of that leadership development content on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Just search for @ForwardPartner. You can also find more information about what we do at forwardpartners.net.